everybody. Hello, welcome. Come on in. Let's get this thing going. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Live, our morning meeting with Fern this morning. Looking a little bit better than she has in weeks past, but you know, we're feeling a little bit disheveled today. As we've talked about before, Fern is in her summer molt, and she has been dropping feathers and growing new ones in, and it is a perfectly normal, natural process that that she goes through every year. And it is a way to keep her feathers healthy and strong, and making sure that she's looking good. So Fern is, a little bit disheveled in the top there, but the rest of her body is molted really nicely. She has beautiful feathers all over her chest here. You can see this is where we get the name barred owl. So Fern is our barred owl ambassador, our female. This is where we get that name. It's from all the bars and stripes all over their feathers. So you can see she has on the underside on her tummy right down here, she has some barring. So that's why we call them barred owls, and that all looks great. Her plumage is molted in really nicely. The only little tiny bit left to go is the top of her head right here. So just, I know, I won't touch you. Just the feathers around the crown of her head. She's growing in the feathers around her eyes, so she looks a little bit better. That way you can see she's got some of those feathers around her eyes now. But those feathers on the top of her head are still coming in. They're kind of the last to appear. So she's working on it. And she's got a lot of fluff to grow in. So what's really cool, hi Chuck, good morning. What's really cool is that these feathers grow in tiny little shafts that come out of the skin called feather shafts. And the feather shafts are just made up of a very thin layer of keratin, and it's so thin that the bird is able to take their beak and kind of nibble on that feather shaft and preen it away. So it's like a weird layer of just a tiny layer of fingernail material, but they're able to preen it away on parts of their body that they can reach, and then the parts that they can't reach, so the top of the head, the back of the head, those are going to be preened by their mates. So Byron actually helps out Fern a lot, and vice versa this time of year, because they're going to be preening each other, and it's a really important part of like courtship bonding and pair bonding that they're preening each other. It's something that they do when they first come back together in the spring to the nest. When they encounter each other for the first time again, they'll start preening each other. The male will start bringing the female food. So you're showing off, huh? Right here, right in this area, there is Fern's ear. So let's see if she'll let me show it off to you guys today. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is Fern's ear right there. You guys see that? So good girl, Fern. Nice job. Her ear is right behind this circle of feathers that makes up her facial disc, and it's really awesome that she's kind of molting in such a perfect way right now to let me show you guys that ear. And we've practiced this a lot, so so Fern is very patient with me. So this is her other ear right there. You can see it's just a hole, but it does have this flap of skin right here. And then from that skin grow the feathers of her facial disc, and those help her to hear even better than normal. If she was just had normal ears, she wouldn't be able to pick up on sounds as well. So the facial disc, good girl. The facial disc, that circle of feathers, is really key to helping them hear very well. It kind of acts like a satellite dish and helps tune in sound. It's kind of like when we cup our ears when we have a hard time hearing somebody. We do this to pick up on more sound waves, and that's the same function of that facial disc. So it's getting bright all of a sudden. I know. Good morning, Theo. Good morning, Oz. Hello. I'm so glad that Fern is one of your favorites. She does look just a little bit. I know, Katie, I also need to make a haircut appointment. I've been cutting my own hair, but I'm so afraid to do anything severe that I haven't been cutting it enough and it just keeps growing. I know, but she does definitely look a little bit disheveled, but it's all normal. It's all part of her natural process. And I think it's really cool because it allows us to kind of see what's going on, what happens in the wild. And if you encounter owls this time of year or birds in general that look a little bit crazy, they might not be sick or in any sort of distress. They might just be molting. And this is the perfect time of year to do it, right? They time that molt very intentionally, or evolution rather has timed that molt intentionally. It's the hottest time of year, so they really want to get rid of as many feathers as they can. So they'll drop a lot of this fluff, and that helps to help keep themselves cool. They also have already mated for the year. They've already had their nest, so they don't necessarily need plumage to be looking their best, you know, for their mates. They've already mated, so they're in the process of raising up babies. In the case of our owls, they will actually do a staggered molt. So they will molt most of their feathers on their body, most of this fluff, the downy feathers, they'll molt most of that every year. But the feathers on their wings, they need them to fly, so they can't molt all of those at one time. So what they do is called a staggered molt. And the long feathers on their wings, you show off your feathers, these long feathers right here, they will molt one, like every other year. So what's cool about that is if you get a bird who has all brand new feathers, you know that all of those feathers just grew in because it was a baby and they grew all of their feathers in at once. If you get a bird that has staggered feathers, so you can tell this feather's old, this feather's new, then you know that that bird's at least a year old and has gone through one of those staggered molts. So we can age our barred owls that way, which is pretty useful. And that's how we were able to tell when Fern came into us that she was a first year bird, because all of her feathers were nice and new. She had feathers that she hadn't dropped yet, that had all grown in as a baby. So they were all kind of at the same age. You can kind of age feathers by wear. The other really amazing thing that owls will do is they will signal to each other using the underside of their feathers. They're actually pink, so it's hard to show on camera, but they do have a slight pink hue to their feathers, and that actually glows in the dark. So their feathers will glow in the dark, and remember, these guys are nocturnal, so they're outside at night. They are flying through the forests at night. And it's a great way for especially small owls that don't want to necessarily advertise their location. It's a great way for them to advertise to other screech owls, because these guys can actually see things that glow in the dark. So the underside of their tails, of their bellies, and the underside of their wings glow pink. And Fern is very, very pink. She has a lot of pink tint to her wings that you can see without the benefit of a black light, but a lot of these guys have really, really cool pink feathers that allow them to kind of glow in the eyes of their friends out in the wild, and it's very useful. So she has a lot of pink down there. I used to, when I first worked with owls, I did not know what that was, and I was like, is it normal for them to be pink? They used to, at the Museum of Science in Boston, have a little saw-whet owl taxidermied with a black light on it, so you could see how pink they are under a black light. It's really cool. A lot of small owls rely a lot on that type of visual signaling versus loud calls that would give them away in a tree. So I love that about owls. Fern is our female barred owl ambassador, and for those of you who haven't heard her story before, she came to us after she was hit by a car. This is something that happens very often with our barred owls. We have a lot of them coming in that are hit by cars, especially In the winter, when they're a little bit more desperate for food, they might go to the roads to find food, and it's not really an appropriate place for them to be hunting. But usually there are lots of small animals there that have been attracted by trash or roadkill. So we always try to educate folks about leaving food in your car until you can get home to throw it away in a trash can, not throwing food on the side of the road, as that attracts the whole food chain, including our owls, including small mammals. And that can do a lot of damage. So Miss Fern here doesn't really have an injury to her body. She actually has some neurological damage from when she was struck in the head. So she has some brain damage now that prevents her from being able to survive in the wild. But if she were out in the wild, she would have, a lot of success hunting, because these guys are very prolific hunters. They're really, really good at eating a lot of varied different things. These guys, do you see yourself in the camera? Yeah, these guys will eat pretty much anything, but they do really have a fondness for amphibians, frogs, salamanders, things like that. They love to live near watery areas, so our marshy areas around us are really great for them. And so we do see a lot of barred owls in our vicinity here in southern Maine. We have a lot of wonderful water systems that support these guys. Something that Fern's been doing while I'm sitting here is kind of looking around. She can turn her head to see what's going on behind her. And that is something that's really remarkable about our owls that I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with, but they can spin their heads to see all the way backwards behind them if they want. They can actually go a little bit further than just behind them, so a little bit more like that way. And they can kind of swivel back around and do the same thing to the other side, so it looks like they can spin their heads all the way around. And it's because they have actually extra little neck bones, which is, I think, the funniest thing, because they don't look like they have necks at all, but they actually have more neck bones than we do. So I just always thought that was funny. Let me know if you're here, and I will, I'll give you guys a shout out. Hi, Katie. Hello. Hi, Oz. So if you are here and you have any questions about Fern, I would be happy to answer them. We think Fern is somewhere around 2 years old based on that feather typing that we were talking about, feather aging. But we also have a lot of other owls that are much older. In the wild, these guys usually will live to be maybe 15, 18 years old, and then in captivity they can live as long as like 25, 30 years old. So we've had barred owls with us live to be 23, around there, but other places have had barred owls live a really long time. So Miss Fern here is a beautiful owl ambassador, and owls are members of the raptor family. So raptor, the word, hi Janet, hello, from Bath, hello. Hello! Hi, Laura. Yeah, so barred owls are often one of the first introductions that a lot of people have to the world of birding, to the world of owls, because they're so gregarious. They live really... Are you hot? Oh, so mad that I moved you. They live in really close proximity to people very frequently. They're really good generalists. They'll live and eat a lot of different... Good morning, Katie. Hello. They'll live near people. They'll eat a lot of small rodents that people attract with our garbage and trash and things. So they do fairly well in our cities, in our downtown areas. They can live in, any place there's a small amount of woods. These guys are going to be happy. So they do definitely prefer that watery water system, but they don't need it. I know it's hot. Let's move you back here. We're just going to move her in the shade a little bit. There you go. Hi. Yeah. So we've talked about this before. I know it's hot. Yeah. Our owls will do this. This right here. This is called gular fluttering. It's a way for them to regulate their body temperatures. So hopefully moving this fern into the shade a little bit will help with that. It is really bright right here, and it's supposed to be pretty warm today. We also will spray down their enclosures to make sure that they are cooling down in their enclosures enough during the day. But normally these guys, when it's really hot, are sitting in their enclosures. They're not moving around too much. They're resting during the day, so they actually don't use a lot of body energy. They don't produce a lot of heat. They also have a lot of feathers all over their bodies, and that actually helps to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It's a great insulation for them. I know. The sun's going behind some clouds. You'll be okay. Good morning, Elizabeth. Hello, Janet. Hello. So Janet, the noise you heard was her kind of telling me, hey, stop moving me. And it's her snapping the top and lower parts of her beak together. So I know, you're okay. So that we call it a beak click or a beak snap, and it's just a way that they kind of tell other birds, tell humans, tell predators that, hey, don't mess with me. So when she was not wanting to be moved on the glove, she did a beak clack. And that's just a signal to, hey, stop moving me. But I just wanted you to be in the shade, my dear. It's hot, I know. Do we need to move more? Where could we move to that's more in the shade? I think the breeze is going to pick up. You'll be okay. She is beautiful. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Vanny. Hello. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and writing a comment. We will certainly try to make sure that Miss Fern stays nice and cool here. But if you guys have any questions about barred owls, she will be okay. Sometimes they'll do it as a sign of stress, but I do believe that it's just a sign that she's hot, because we are good pals and we're just sitting in one of her favorite spots, so I don't think she's stressed at all. She's just hot. Yeah, it's warm. It's gonna be warm today. I know, honey. We might be able to move the camera a little bit, but I want to make sure that you guys can still see her. Yeah, it's okay. Hello, Janet. Hello, Kim. Are you doing a little bit better? Yeah. So as you guys know, there are always donation buttons on all of our videos. Thank you so much for donating in the past if you have. And we really appreciate all of the support that we get from our viewers on Facebook, from our fans on Facebook. We recently reached 20,000 followers, which is amazing. So thank you guys so much for liking and following us. We really appreciate it. And if you guys have to step away, these videos will be there all day. So we really are so happy that we can bring you guys that content. I'm actually going on a program today. We're really excited to offer like local, small, very safe programming to some small local places. I'm going to an animal shelter today, so I'm really excited. Yeah, hi Fern, I know. Let's see if we can move Miss Fern into the shade a little bit. That might help. So we're gonna move. I'll put the camera here so you guys can kind of see us still. It's okay. You're okay. We're just gonna go into the shade. Yeah. Hi. Okay. There you go. Now you're in the shade. So we just had to move a little bit into the shade, and now she's happy. Hi. So we'll just squat here. Yeah. Something pretty cool that you can see while we're standing here is Fern's talons. So if you guys can see her talons close up in the camera, these are very, very strong gripping feet that our owls have that make them really unique. So the word raptor actually comes from the Latin word for to grab or to grasp. So raptor just means to grab and hold on to something, and that's exactly what these guys do. They will grab and hold on to their food, and they'll also actually use their talons to help them to climb. So a lot of baby owls will actually kind of go out on branches and walk around, and they'll climb the trunk of the tree using their beak and their talons. It's a very odd sight to see, but they can do it. So they'll use these talons to catch their food, and then also to climb and hold on to tree bark. And their talons are really unique. Owl talons are very cool because they can actually change up the orientation of these toes. So sometimes they can have them like this, where there's two in the front and two in the back. And then sometimes they can actually move this little toe right here and bring it to the front if they want. So it's actually to do with the fact that they're eating so many different kinds of foods. They might need a different configuration of toe to best grab onto a certain type of food. So two in the front, two in the back might help a lot with eating, like, you know, things that are kind of round in shape, or like slippery, but then three in the front, one in the back might be better for perching or for catching something else. So they can actually switch that toe around, and no other raptor can do that. Every other raptor's toes are fixed. It's very, very cool. So, hey, this little toe. Yeah, and she does have some issues sometimes with this foot. Sometimes she doesn't seem to know how to coordinate it very well. I think it has to do with her injury. So she does sometimes have a hard time controlling that talon. We'll also often put her up on a perch and she'll kind of just hold that one up, unsure of what to do with it. I know, Oz, it's so cool. So yeah, it's like they have an opposable thumb, or like a double jointed joint that allows them to just swing that back and front. So there are some birds that have two in the front, two in the back, locked in place like that. So like osprey have two toes in the front and two in the back, and that configuration is called zygodactyl, and it's useful for catching really wide things, like wide skinny prey like fish. So that's why they have their toes set like that. But then a lot of raptors, like hawks, falcons, have, or like you would see a typical bird's toes oriented this way. They have the normal kind of perching toes, where three in the front, one in the back. Oh, I'm sorry, did I move you into the sun? Yeah. So the same sort of thing, they can do both. It's very cool. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. I'm happy to answer them for you, but I do want to make sure that I get Miss Fern into the shade if I can, because the sun is just moving right with us. So I want to make sure that she stays nice and cool. But if you guys have any other questions about owls, I'm happy to answer them for you. As always, we really appreciate you watching with us. And we will definitely be back tomorrow. Kristen will be back tomorrow with another ambassador friend. I know. We're going to go back to our enclosure. We're going to spray down the enclosure, cool everybody down. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. We're going to go get Fern back in the cool. Thanks, guys.